Well, good enough. There's one group or company that is not thinking of a hike. That's Dangote. And we've heard 2 days ago, they did announce that instead of 1,225 naira for a litre of diesel supplied to local retailers, they would now do it at 1,000 naira. Well, I guess it's a thing of celebration. But let's find out if this is sustainable and how they are hoping to ensure that the supply actually goes to every part and it's not being taken for granted. The Director, Group Chief Commercial Officer of Dangote is here, Mr. Rabiu Umar. Mr. Umar, good afternoon and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So, I mean, you just heard the telecoms are trying to prepare our mind, I think, for a tariff hike. If you look at their side, I mean, you would say, of course, that operation has become more expensive. So you expect it. But then you also look at Nigerians and see how we have been squeezed. What do you think of this to even start with?
I think the news of the Dangote refinery bringing down the prices of gas oil, which is otherwise known as diesel, as well as other products that will be coming through in due time, I think is a very positive news. We're all in Nigeria. We all face the same inflationary headwinds, and we all are in Nigeria. Whatever it is you buy in Nigeria today, one way or the other, diesel is a factor. When you talk about the telecoms, for example, all the base stations are fueled with diesel. So ideally, now that we are bringing down the prices of diesel, our expectation is that it will have a direct impact on every single item, household item that you have in Nigeria. Be it you're buying rice, whatever it is you're buying, one way or the other is transported with diesel. So therefore, if the prices of diesel is coming down, and we're coming down from 1,650 or thereabouts, almost 60% reduction, which I think for me is a testament to how having an industry within Nigeria has a direct correlation to ease of life for the generality of Nigerians. We are aware that the government is doing everything it can to stem the tide of the hyperinflation we're seeing. And of course, in a sense, this is our own way of contributing to that. So indeed, it's a very, very positive news, and Nigerians should expect that we will continue to do our best to make sure that prices remain at a very, very reasonable levels.
So should we tell the telecom operators to hold and don't think of a tariff hike yet, because we have Dangote diesel coming to you at 1,000? Because it should. I know that Mr. Aliko Dangote had promised, or I mean, well, he did express his own optimism, saying that with the drop in the price of diesel, we should see a drop in inflation. But I mean, the time lag is also another thing to consider.
Agreed. But like I said, what our group president has said, Alhaji Aliko, is very right. In that, like I said, there's nothing, we can go into details, but there's not a single part of the economy you can think of. If you run any business today, chances are you're using diesel to run that business. If you're in transporting any kind of items, even when you look at mass transportation, you still have diesel has an impact, because it's only the last mile that is being handled by petrol. But most of the activities you find, economic activities in Nigeria, one way or the other impacted by the price of diesel. So if the price of diesel is coming down by 60%, then you would expect to see a commensurate reduction in the prices of goods and services. We're not used to seeing price reductions in Nigeria. And I think it's novel, it's something new, and it's something in the right direction, seeing that here is a company which is starting and is also announcing a reduction in the prices of these commodities.
So Nigerians would like to know how sustainable this will be, because I hope we don't get used to 1,000 and then Dangote will come and say, oh, we're not making profit, we can't cover our overhead costs, and so we have to hike it by a bit. How are you working with this, keeping up with your operational costs? Because as you noted, Dangote is also operating in Nigeria, facing the headwinds that everybody's facing, and yet you're able to reduce the price up to 1,000.
So number one, you have to remember that we have the single largest refinery anywhere in the world. Brand new refinery, which is very, very efficient, operating at the highest level of efficiency. Number two, typically oil is sold in the international markets in dollars, where oil is not sold in naira. And as such, we're also able to export some of what we are producing. In fact, we started operations since February. Our first export was in February, and as we speak, in addition to the domestic fuels that we're selling, we're also exporting. So this refinery is now an opportunity for Nigeria to also be able to become a net exporter. There's no reason for anybody to bring a single liter of any fuel into Nigeria when we have more than enough, because the size of the refinery can adequately cater to the needs of Nigeria, of all the product lines you can think of, and even some West African countries. So it's the opposite of importation. Now you have a chance to actually export, meaning that you will already get some forex inflow instead of the outflow. There's no crystal ball to your question on price. Nothing remains constant, but I mean, it's a testament to the fact that we are ready to do business, and we're already selling at a price that is very, very competitive, and it has helped the whole economy to benefit from that low price that we have announced.
Help us to understand the supply chain. We're interested in the domestic suppliers, how you work with them. Who are those you have already, perhaps, how do we know those who have already bought? I believe Dangote diesel is already in circulation,
yes,
even as we speak. So help us to understand the supply chain, especially for the domestic buyers.
So, typically, most of the fuel, the diesel you find, is imported into the country. So we have two sets of customers. We have customers who are buying by truck, and we're loading every day. And we have people who also are buying by vessel, those who already have their own storage facilities. So rather than come to buy by truck, they will come with a vessel, and they will take in lots like that. So we are, in terms of value chain, we're open, and we're selling to every Nigerian that has the requisite licenses that you need to be able to operate in that space. And it's an opportunity for, I would say, the smaller players to also participate. And everybody has a chance to be able to be part of that. And you also have a chance, like I said earlier, to export. Because again, that's for me where Nigeria moves from a net importer to a net exporter of the same commodity, meaning that people have a chance to become international traders instead of just playing locally.
And this, of course, will boost our FX liquidity, which is in dire need at this time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we heard you're already doing diesel. You're planning on jet fuel.
We're already doing jet as well.
Okay, you're also doing jet fuel.
We're doing jet as well. We've been loading...
So the aviation sector.
Yes, we're doing jet fuel already, and we have been loading cargoes of jet for a while now.
Oh wow, nice. What about petrol? That's where that's where the bulk of consumers are.
Yes.
When can we look forward to petrol from Dangote?
In a couple of weeks. We are working.
Weeks, you said.
In a couple of weeks, we should be ready. In a couple of weeks, we should be able to start to do some petrol.
So a couple of weeks, that's in May.
Well, with things like this, it's difficult to be exact in terms of timing, because again, you're starting up a facility. So I don't want to give you a specific date, but certainly I would say a couple of weeks, not more than that. And when I say a couple of weeks, I don't mean 20 weeks. I mean a couple of weeks.
So before the end of May, we would expect that Dangote petrol, a couple of weeks is, will be in May and all of that.
Yes, so I would say if you're talking like that, I would say in Q2. Rather than to be specific with a
I'll
with
just
a date.
let you know, because already in Q2.
Yeah.
So what impacts, do we expect? We have been told that Dangote is exporting crude. So we know to manage our expectation, because obviously he's not importing crude with Naira, he's importing with dollars. So we expect that to feed in. So what can Nigerians expect as we await the supply of petrol from Dangote?
I think the first thing about fuels or any product is, for me, is energy security. What the Dangote refinery brings, the first, I would say, big advantage is that you have energy security. Because what happens is when you have to bring in cargoes, there are times when you fall short, or you have the cargoes in tank, but the distribution is clogged up. And what happens when you have that is that you then have shortages at different locations. What Dangote refinery brings is the security, because two things: you can load a lot of vessels, you can also do a lot of trucks. And these trucks are not going to be coming back into Lagos to come and create further traffic, because what happens is today, look at Apapa. Imagine you take out the fueling or the trucking that happens there, or 50% of it moves to the refinery. What that means is that those who come to load from the refinery are able to take the route through Ogun State. They don't need to come into Lagos at all. So that kind of reduces the traffic, and at the same time, it improves the efficiency of the product getting to the end user. That's, to me, the first one. Number two, you also talked about the pricing. The pricing, I can't talk about the pricing right now because, again, it has to be agreed and finalized. But certainly, you will get availability of the product at reasonably good levels in terms of pricing, because it's produced here rather than being brought in from abroad.
Yeah, well, I know that financial derivatives, they did do like a study and said that about 20% of logistics costs will be cut out. So, I mean, that should also attract even more players in the industry. And as you said, should feed more into the issue of energy security in the country. I pray that the long queues at the filling stations will be a thing of the past in no distant time.
Certainly. Yeah.
All right. We have to thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Director, Group Chief Commercial Officer with Dangote, Mr. Rabiu Umar.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.